I'm here because I am a roaring lion crying out righteousness. All right, I want to ask you for your time. I'm going to go about 10 minutes in a segment here today that racism is big business. And I don't want you to leave until you've heard me out. So even though you might disagree with some of the things I'm going to say, just hear me out, right? I'm asking you for that. Will you give me that? But what I want to point out is that racism is a moneymaker. It's big business. And those who understand the process of how much money is in, if you will, the so-called political democratic legislation for reparations and those corporations that fund that kind of activity, they are enormous. But the tragedy here is that the people who know that racism is big business choose a few what I refer to as pensionados Negroes, house Negroes, like the mayor of Houston or the mayor of New York City or the mayor of Washington, D.C., or the mayor of Chicago or the mayor of Los Angeles. These are all Hamite. Now, they call themselves black mayors. And they put people on television like Don Lemon and people like Princeton University professors and people like Cornel West. And they selectively choose maybe over a scheme of millions of black people, 100 people, and put them up out front on television and visibility and give them political positions and critical positions. But they have to keep the rest of the 33 million black people poor, more going to prison. You have to increase the prison in order for racism to flourish and these pensionados Negroes to keep their positions. You have to send more men to prison. More people in Chicago have to die, young boys. More poverty, more brokenness, more disillusion, more destruction of churches. In order for racism, the business of racism, to continue to flourish, you have to understand that what goes on behind the scenes of racism and how vicious it is, and that these pensionados Negroes and House are nothing more than mascots, because since Dr. King gave that speech in 1963, life for black people has got exponentially worse. Listen, let me say this to you, and I'm going to bring up Tucker Carlson for just a moment. There is no place in the world, no place in the entire world where white people live that is as deadly as the South Side of Chicago. Now, there are bad places. There are trailer parks for white people. We know that. There's all kinds of other things, white neighborhoods. But there's no place in the entire world that's as deadly as the South Side of Chicago. And the reason why that's important, because that's where Barack Hussein Obama's political birth took place, on the South Side of Chicago. The killings, day by day, week by week, and they don't stop. The prisons in America are continuing to overflow. The jails are overflowing. But they put up these mascots. They put up these Don Lemons. They put up these people on television. They put up these Joy Reids. They put up these so-called black pontificators. And you open up your television, or you see them in the movies, and you open up your television and you think, well, everything's getting better. You see a mayor of San Francisco, the mayor of Los Angeles. You say, well, things must be getting better. They're getting, but you know in your heart and spirit, things are getting worse. We have never seen as much homelessness in Los Angeles and New York, never in the history of the world. But yet both of them got a black mayor. Racism is big business. And here's the thing that's so painful about it. Those people who profit from racism know that you got to continue to keep black people poor, ignorant, and stupid in order for racism and the profits that come from it to survive. It's had a so-called black president, and black people are worse off today than ever. Listen, I'm going to let you listen to Tucker Carlson talk to you about how the NAACP shakes down major corporations for millions of dollars, or the major corporations shake down the NAACP. It is a scream. At the bottom of all of this, black people are suffering, while you got a whole lot of 100 or so across America, 100 black faces on the news program, in the movies, or somewhere else, giving the image that the mirage, rather, that somehow or another life of black people is getting better. Mr. Engineer.
Industry of smear merchants for hire in this country, people who take money from often powerful corporations, to defame other people in the name of civil rights. Jonathan Greenblatt of the Anti-Defamation League does this for a living, a very good living. The NAACP does it as well. Now, we're not just imagining this. We're about to talk to someone who's seen it firsthand. Callie Means. Early in his career, Callie Means consulted for the Coca-Cola Company. His job was to ensure that sugar taxes failed and that soda was included in food stamp funding so poor people could have all the soda they needed and you could pay for it. Callie Means says that Coca-Cola paid the NAACP and other civil rights groups to brand opponents of that plan as racist. Oh, you're a racist. Okay, now. So that's how it works. Callie Means is the co-founder of True Medicine and a whistleblower. He joins us tonight. Callie Means, thank you so much for coming on. So you're basically confirming the most cynical assumption of observers, which is that this is all a pay-for-play deal. The big corporations use these groups, people like Greenblatt at ADL and the NAACP, to hurt their business opponents. That's what you saw?
Tucker, being inside of the room, there are three parts to the playbook to basically rig the system that Coke and many other special interests use. The first, as you alluded to, is the civil rights group, and in the case of the food stamps and Coke issue, it was the NAACP. And what was shocking is that being inside of the room, it's transactional. They say the quiet part out loud. Coke will give, in this case, the NAACP, millions of dollars for the NAACP to call opponents, in this case, parents who are concerned about their kids ingesting 100 times more sugar than they did 100 years ago, to call them racist and to shut down debate. The second part of the stool, and this is very bipartisan, it's the Heritage Foundation and other conservative think tanks, and I have a lot of experience with the Heritage Foundation, and let me tell you, ordering a corporate slanted study from the Heritage Foundation is about as easy and transactional as going into McDonald's and getting a Big Mac. And the third, and maybe even the most important one, is research institutions. I think it's important to note that Coke and processed food companies spend 11 times more on nutrition research than the NIH. And being in the rooms, I can tell you, that is not out of philanthropic goodwill. They're expecting something in return. And what they're getting is peer-reviewed studies from elite research institutions saying things like sugar doesn't cause obesity. And the loser here is kids.
Well, of course, and all of us. The depth of the corruption is awe-inspiring. This deserves a much longer conversation than we have time for now. I'm just interested. A lot of people have seen what you're describing. You're almost alone in talking about it in public. Why are you saying this? I mean, thank you, but why?
Honestly, yeah, thank you, Tucker. I'm going to be honest. I'm thinking about my new son, Rourke, and the world he's going into. He's going into a world where 25% of young adults have prediabetes, which used to be called adult onset diabetes, where 50% of adults have prediabetes or diabetes, where male sperm count is plummeting 50%, where we are getting sicker, fatter, more infertile, more depressed at an exponential rate. It's because of food. It's because of a rigged system. It's because of these tactics. And it's an issue that the left and the right need to get behind. We are destroying our precious human capital in this country because of nutrition and because of the nutrition, food, healthcare access that is incentivized for us to be sick and addicted for longer periods of time. That's how they make money.
Yeah. And the lying, and that degrades all. To cite the Edmund Pettus Bridge or some fake peer-reviewed study in order to justify this is really infuriating. I appreciate your coming forward.
Al Sharpton, Ben Crump, it's incentivized for them to see a black man get shot. Without that, they get no work. So it's incentivized for black people to suffer, so groups like the NAACP can stand up and say we need more money, or these people are racist, and then they get paid by major corporations to call other corporations racist. They get paid millions of dollars. And then the master plan of racism is to get like 100 black faces, people like Eddie Gloyd, or people like Michael Eric Dyson, or people like Don Lemon, or people like Jay-Z, to get them to put maybe out of the 33 million black people in America, to get 100 faces and put them strategically on television, on news program, give them news spots, give them opportunities, and give them programs, so that when you open up your television, it looks like black people are making great progress. Give them let them be the mayor of Houston. Who cares? Let them be the mayor of Houston. They don't have any power, not going to change anything. And life is not going to get better. Let them be the mayor of New York City. Let them be the mayor of Atlanta, Georgia. Let a black person be the mayor of Washington, D.C., Baltimore, Richmond, Virginia, Chicago, And that gives the persona, oh, it looks like black people are getting better. But the truth of the matter is that in order for that to take, you put them out there so you can continue to oppress black people by the racist corporations, by the racist people that make money off of racism, and the racist organization like the NAACP. And more black people are homeless today than in the history of the world. We got more black mayors. We got more black people on television. We got more black people in movies, but we got more black people that are homeless. We got more black children that are suffering. We got more black families that are fathers. And the more we put, the more, not we, but the more they put these faces out there to give the persona that look like the world is getting better. And here's the truth, that and because it's such a psychological, if you will, game that's being played, even though black people know down in their deepest part of their heart, that they put Obama out there as a black face, as president, they know their life has gotten worse. It didn't get better. Nothing got better. But they're so ashamed of being black. They're so ashamed of the fact that Obama didn't do anything. You talk to them right now, they ask him, name me one thing that Obama did to make your life as a black person better. And there's not one thing they can name. There's not one thing, because that's not the aim. It's the same thing with mayor of Houston, the mayor of Atlanta, the mayor of Washington, the mayor of New York. They're not put there to make your life better. They're put there to make your life worse, so that the process of the prison complex, the poverty, the food stamps, the diabetes, the sickness, the hospitals, and the properties can be taken. Listen, there's no place on the planet. I mean, the birthplace of Jesus, Bethlehem, the birthplace politically of Obama's the south side of Chicago, yet there's more killings there than any other place on the planet. And no white person anywhere lives in a neighborhood like the south side of Chicago, no matter how much crime goes on in it. So racism is big business, and you need to wake up. God has sent me here to teach. God has sent me here to demonstrate this. It's just big. And listen, the more homeless people, the more people can be employed by the city to build shelters, the more construction companies can get contracts. I mean, it is a scream how black people are being bamboozled, how they're being hoodwinked, how they're being played, how they're being pimped by these 100 black faces on television like Eddie Gloyd or Michael Eric Dyson or Joy Reid or some of the others. And you know who they are. You see them. Or some of the mayors like Houston mayor and Atlanta mayor or San Francisco. They're being played by these people are nothing more than pinch-nosed Negroes put in power by racist corporations to keep black people poor so they can keep making money. It's a scream. I tell you, this is worse than slavery. This is what these people do as house Negroes, as pinch Negroes, is worse than slavery. How major corporations like the NAACP and Coca-Cola get together, and it's criminal what they do. These major corporations like Coca-Cola pay the NAACP millions of dollars to call another corporation racist. As I said before, that when Obama was running for president, and the chairman of the NAACP at the same time said at the beginning months that he was not black, a major corporation came in and gave that chairman and that NAACP several $1 million. All of a sudden, Obama's our boy. And how do you wake up black people? Because they're so racist. They are so racist. I mean, their whole life revolves around black and racism. And major corporations and people of power have discovered this. Let's put 100 black faces on television. Let's put 100 black faces. Let's put them out in the movies. Let's put them in politics. And everybody will think that the world is getting better while we are robbing and stealing the men out of the homes and sending them to prison. We're putting men out on the street who haven't done a crime to go to prison. We're having children raised in substandard schools. We're having children being raised without fathers. And we have an entire economic base in the black community That's sub-zero because the family income only comes from, if you will, government subsidies or government out. There is no basic income of building, if you will, homes and building equity and building business. All that has been stripped away. Black people have traded black faces on television. They've given up equity in their homes. They've given up equity in businesses. They've given all of that up to say we got a black president. It is a scream. And the ignorance of black people, their racism. And I don't say this because I hate black people. I've been black all my life in that regard. I live in Harlem. I wake up in Harlem. I haven't moved to another neighborhood. Jay-Z, LeBron James, and others, and even the head of Black Lives Matter, purchased a $15 million house in a white neighborhood because they don't want to live around black people. They know how dangerous it is. They don't believe in black people. They don't think that they want to be white. So they buy $88 million houses, $34 million houses in Beverly Hills, $88 million houses in Bel Air because they don't want to live around black. The racism, it is absolutely criminal. What is blasphemous, what's being done to black people. I'm going to keep on raising my voice. I'm not going to stop. But I pray that I've gotten one person to wake up and see that racism, keeping black people in prison, keeping them poor, keeping them living in shelters is big business for the races. And the mascots that are out there on television in politics as mayors or as news commentators, they're nothing more than house Negroes who get paid to keep other Negroes. Without these, black people would rise up. But that's all we must be doing. Pray with me on this. Pray. Thank you for taking the time to listen to me.